Alright, so the time is 15:26. The date is 5/29/2015. It's Thursday. Thursday, we're going to be talking about the No Jumper Brandon situation. Alright, so I've been watching No Jumper since about 2023. I started watching because of Flacco and Destiny. Destiny had went on the No Jumper. He did a debate. I think he did a debate with Richard Spencer. And he went on there a couple more times. And I think Flacco had did an interview with Young Pharaoh, and I like that too. And I started watching No Jumper around 2023. But what I like about it is that it's kind of like a really evolved version of reality TV. It's like a reality TV show, and it has a bunch of different characters and a bunch of crazy stuff in the narrative of everything. It's just about, I'll say, like, watching No Jumpers like watching a bomb being dropped down and propelling, you upward and forward, and depending on how big the bomb is, depends on how high and far you go. It's like content bombs get dropped on the No Jumper, just mostly because of the things that the hosts do, just the people that they bring up there, Maybe it's a LA thing, but just the people that they bring up there and the stuff that they do, it's just always intriguing. Content is always real. And it's just really, really actually like reality TV. It's really actually a No Jumper universe. And I was subscribed to Flacco before I start watching No Jumper. Today is actually another day, but it's always bombs being dropped, basically to propel the narrative forward. And it's actually about real stuff as well. But every now and then, like, a nuke gets dropped on No Jumper, and which creates a whole really big cycle of content and characters and new stuff. And I'll say since the Brick crash out, it's been the Brick versus Whack thing, and then Whack versus everybody, because Whack is just crazy. And then the Brick and Loose thing, then the Long Beach Flacco invited the Viral Way podcast, and then they also talked to Brandon, aka Bucci Bear, aka Dark Brandon, like Adam said. Brandon, I like Brandon too. Brandon, Defiant Brandon. Defiant with Brandon Tucker. He had a appearance on No Jumper last month, April 23rd, which is a really important date. He and Suspect had sat down for a convo, and instantly it was just drama, because what Brandon states is that Suspect has said the N-word with the hard R off camera. And I believe he said it because he said it multiple times. He said it yesterday. He says it multiple times. He says the N-word with the hard R, but he doesn't realize he's saying it. It just like slips out. But he does it like almost every show. But for some reason, Brandon had asked Suspect, and Suspect really just flipped out to a tremendous degree upon Brandon here. And the situation goes like, Suspect yells at Brandon, assaults him. Brandon antagonizes him a bit more, and he does imply that Suspect doesn't want to fight him. Suspect hears that and really challenges him, and it really blows up. And they sit on for the whole show, but after this begins with Brandon making content, and then Suspect, just talking about him on the show. Brandon gets invited back, and it really becomes like a big Brandon Glaze session because Brandon reveals that he has a black belt, and that the whole situation gets retrospectively viewed as Brandon being the one who's more mature, and just he came out of the situation gaining more than he had before he got into it with the Suspect, which is honestly true. And Brandon has a debate with Lush Uno. Lush Uno says that he and Suspect and Brandon should have a podcast. They have a podcast yesterday. Brandon and Suspect kind of get into an altercation. Anyways, allegedly, I don't know, I didn't see it. Suspect ends up pulling out a knife. And yesterday, Adam said on the show that they fired my boy, Almighty Suspect. Sus Gerb. No, not Sus. They didn't got my boy Sus out of there. My thoughts on the whole situation. To give just a view on everything, I think that Adam was justified, in his firing of Suspect, obviously, because he did pull out a knife, or if he did, or that's what Adam says, because the spit and the knife, and just he feels that Suspect is an uncontrollable person, which is kind of true. I think he was justified in that. I don't really get the anti-Adam Suspect firing narrative, but it goes something like, how can I put this? It goes like the No Jumper people, they knew that bringing Suspect and Brandon together would lead to something that could potentially end up in Suspect getting fired. They knew that, and they didn't communicate before the day of that they wanted Suspect and Brandon to be on the podcast together. But I don't really know if you can really blame the No Jumper staff for putting them two on the same podcast and it ended up in Sus getting fired. You could say, well, a real good argument would be that they could predict, just based on the situation, the outcome. They should have expected really that it would end in a volatile situation between these two. They should have expected that, and they, as professionals, if they really cared about Suspect, if they really was looking out for his best interest, then they wouldn't have did that. That is true, and Suspect feels that he acted accordingly as to what the No Jumper premises has been over the last 3 years, and those things are also true, but they are removing, when you make that argument, you're removing agency from Suspect, and you're allowing him really to rule, or you're allowing him to just not take absolute responsibility for his own decisions and choices to, one, spit on Brandon, and two, pull out a knife after Brandon said a word to him that he said to Brandon multiple times. That's really, really immature and unnecessary. He didn't have to do that. He chose, right, to crash out. So if you put somebody in a situation where they might crash out, the agency is still on them for crashing out, and he could have behaved more civilized like Brandon, but he chose not to, So I really don't have any, real sympathy for him, because it was really unnecessary, and he really was antagonizing Brandon. It really was all. I feel like you have to just lay all the blame on Suspect, because he didn't have to go there. He said he felt like he had to go there, but that was only, to serve his ego. He didn't have to go. He could have just not went there, and then people would have been talking about him online. But who cares? He shouldn't care about that. Me, I feel like if I ever do gain an image or something, the rules that, or the things that I would do, or the rules that I will apply, or the morals and beliefs that I will have in my life wouldn't lead me to a place where I feel like I have to show up somewhere to appease a bunch of people, who, I don't know, might say I'm not tough or something like that, or not cool or whatever, He should have been focusing on his opportunity, his everything, instead of trying to, I don't know, be tough with Brandon. I don't know. But this places Brandon in a nice situation, a nice predicament. He's taken out the new, I don't know, the new No Jumper anti-hero, I guess, and now he's taking that anti-hero position. And now, this is why I tuned into No Jumper, like Axe said yesterday, for the fuckery, for the crash outs, for the niggas doing nigga shit. But I really want to see what happens now with Brandon because he's the most interesting person they really had on No Jumper. I think so, and he's not the best person because he does just really ramble on. But I'm really interested to see what happens next because, like I said, the No Jumper is like a reality show. Like there's always new cast, there's always new shit, new plots. It's always crazier. But I wonder what's gonna happen with Brandon Whack. I wonder what's gonna happen with Lush Flacco. I want to see how the Susless podcast goes now. Um, uh, I don't know if I'm gonna miss my boy Almighty. It was nice having Almighty, but we got Lush. We got Lush to be there for the Lush moments. We got Flacco to be there with the Flacco moments. I like the way that the cast. I like the future. I like the new Brandon, aka Dark Brandon, aka Bucci Bear arc. Yeah, that's what this is the Bucci Bear arc of No Jumper. Okay, this, this it's really funny that this happened. Like it's just crazy because it's always some shit happening. It's always some shit happening at No Jumper. But this is day 2. This is the second video. Got it. Good time. To anybody who may be watching this, like and subscribe or whatever. New content is on the way.